Apologies, we cannot translate because the mic is not on or she does not have a microphone. Maybe someone can tell her to use a microphone. That would be great. You've just seen the DWOS. They are from 13 to 16 years of age. They come weekly to Etopia to participate in a collaborative project. You have seen the group working on electronics. The last term, they developed a laser tag with laser pistols they manufactured, or guns. One of the norms of the program is that we get them involved in each of the in every decision-making process. Right now, we are prototyping the program with the electronic group, and our aim is that throughout the year, at each lab, we open up a youth space to have teenagers working on science, sound creation, or digital field. In the case of Etopia, this project filled in a gap because the teenagers did not have any program for them. There were just programs for kids and adults. And it is like a black hole. A black hole nobody wants to cover at many different cultural centers apart from the school visits, but they are only public, really, just visitors, passive visitors. The other day when I was preparing the panel, I thought about the reason for it. As adults, for us, it is very difficult to face teenagers. We are afraid of them. It is difficult for us to establish a dialogue, and we underestimate their interests and capacities when proposing cultural activities. It is an honor to be at this panel because we have a lot to learn from your experiences. And we have to open up to their participation in cultural spaces, do away with their bias. Many times we think, oh my God, they will not be able to participate, they are only teenagers, they are kind of silly-billy age, you know. And however, you think of a kid who is 12, 13, 14, and you let them use your labs, like the ones at Etopia, and they have a million of ideas, and they are fresh enough to do many things. So I think that what you're going to tell us is very interesting. We're going to learn a lot from you, I'm sure. Here I have Carlos Granados and Mechthild Eickhoff. Mechthild is responsible for USVI, cultural education, second level of the Cultural Center in Dortmunder, Germany. The program has its own exhibition area and focuses work on kids, boys and girls, on the film, photography, or DIY, etc., etc. Carlos Granados is responsible for the education department CA2M, a program, and his aim is to link art to education. He will tell us a little bit about the programs they develop at the CA2M, as for example, the Under-21 team. Carlos, we'll start with you. Shall I stand up? Yeah. Okay, great. So I'll go to the stand then. Beautiful. Well, I have thought, well, instead of an agenda, I was thinking of navigating through the websites of the projects because it is the easier way, no? The easiest way to understand what we do. So we're going online now. See if we can Google around. Okay, maybe I can start talking. I do not need websites. You have seen them many times probably. I always say that, well, many people have addressed interesting topics today. For example, someone talked about the idea of framing every project. How a project, when people talk about recipes, for example, and for me that would be impossible because that has to do with the work you do, depending on the framework it will change, and that is my understanding. I think our practice has a lot to do with the characteristics of the place, no? It is similar to this place, but I think this place is much more interesting. It is an art center, contemporary art center. All of a sudden, this is kind of weird at the periphery because citizens had not asked for it. So when we started working on it, we thought that the only way to work was on the basis of an idea, that was to build up a project rethinking the practice, no? What we wanted to happen there. Our first experience with the youngsters was the first month because the terrace at the top of the building was full of teenagers.
La relación que yo creo que tienen los jóvenes con el espacio, con nuestro espacio, es muy diferente a la de otros museos, o por lo menos la que yo tenía.
Because the way they use our space is different from the way they use other museums. When I was a teenager, I used to go to museums. They use museums now as a public space because they do not have to pay any money. It is a public space, and instead of a museum, it is called an art center. So they do not know whether to go in or not go in, but it has air conditioning in summer and heating in winter, so that's really good. And the roof of the building is only used in spring and summer. It's great for evenings in the summer. When we started to realize that so many people were coming to us, we thought about the need. That is, how to program focused on a need. We do not program for kids or youngsters, but rather we had the need of making a specific program for some youngsters who were already coming to the center. I have to add that we do believe in the transforming capacity of art, and above all, contemporary art. It is closer to a teenager than an adult, no? Because that person will understand our codes much better, and there will be less bias as well. But I wanted to tell you something else. We have been 10 years working with youngsters, and this is the most important program of the education department. I feel honored because in the previous panel they talked about how the education departments have a secondary role to be played at museums, but in our museum it is just the other way around. We've had many possibilities. 70% of what is happening in the museum has to do with activities, and they all start from the same department. Educational activities department is not only thinking but also doing. Our practice is a political practice but also a research area.
Y por otra parte, para mí, tiene que ver con también un espacio
And
de
for me, it
creación,
also has to do with
un espacio para
creation,
compartir y para hacer.
an area or space to
Entonces,
create and
quería,
to do,
yo
to
tengo,
make.
mirar, yo os voy a enseñar, voy a ser un poco más, ahora más caótico, porque
I'm
os
going
voy a
to be a
enseñar
bit more chaotic even
algunas
more.
cosas que tienen que ver con lo que
I'll show you some
estamos
things
haciendo
that have to do with what we're doing right now.
Bueno, aquí hay un esquema, no se ve nada bien, ¿no?
You cannot see very
Pone dentro
well.
y fuera.
Anyway,
Y esto tiene que ver, pero estos conceptos sí que se ven, ¿no?
you can see these
Estos son los
concepts,
conceptos
right?
un poco que
These are the
un mapa de
concepts.
conceptos
Well,
que
this is a
tenemos,
concept
de alguna
mapping.
manera, siento o sentimos que tienen, que son referencia ahora mismo
Because we think they are
para nuestra práctica.
benchmarks for
Como
us.
distracción,
Distraction, soft resistance, the invisible, inappropriate bodies to waste time, non-expert knowledge, the weird. These concepts, well, they have to do with how we understand our practice. They may seem weird to you, but they are very political. I wanted to tell you something about these concepts to pull the thread. First, inappropriate bodies, because at this panel we are talking about youngsters in museums. But what kind of youngster we want in our museums? Do we want in our museums? Because it is a bit dangerous now for the institution. It generates a kind of danger, hazard. 15 youngsters on a Friday evening, they go into the museum and then they go somewhere else to do their own thing. What kind of institution we are working for? What kind of democratic space is it? That's why this place is fantastic, because I can see that it makes other ways of making possible. Another kind of relationship away from the norms. Usually when you enter the museum, there is a list of norms and rules. No running, no eating, no drinking. Well, what can you do inside a museum? Nothing really. You can look, you can speak very softly and just walk. So it is a bourgeois museum of the past. And that is still happening today. When we enter these spaces, there are some bodies that have to be tamed. The problem is that the youngster is not tamed. I think maybe what we want is that we want youngsters that are 13 years of age with bodies of older people. And we have been lucky to start working with youngsters from the very beginning. I'll tell you an anecdote. After 10 years doing all kinds of things that have to do with the inappropriate, after 10 years not having any norms at the entrance, all of a sudden one day we have a sign with norms, and they have to do with inappropriate bodies, teenager bodies, creating frictions to many people in this institution. And due to certain pressures, someone decided to signpost the norms. However, as all norms have something of an absurd, something at some point deactivates them. But all of a sudden, now there is a list of norms. And they have relationship with those youngsters. That is fundamental. I'm not talking about the past, but rather the present. We thought then how to work with the youngsters from then on.
Y bueno, yo lo que hice fue trasladárselo
What I did was to
como
talk
debate a
about
uno de
this
los grupos de jóvenes que participan
with
dentro del
a
museo.
group
Es
of
el equipo sub-21,
youngsters.
que
It is the team
es un
under
grupo de jóvenes que no
21,
es una
under
idea
21
nueva, hay
or
en
sub
muchos
21 team,
museos.
as you can
Es un
see
grupo de
there.
jóvenes que de alguna manera
It
colaboran
is
con
a
la
group of
institución, están en
youngsters
forma permanente, se
collaborating with the
reúnen, tienen
institutions. They
cierta
meet
autonomía,
frequently. They
piensan,
have
incluso programan para otros
some
jóvenes,
autonomy.
eso
They
es su
even
trabajo, ¿no?
think and
Pero me
program from
parecía
for
interesante
other
ir un poco más
kids.
allá. Si podemos
But I wanted to go
desinstitucionalizar
a
un poco
bit
más todo ese tipo
further.
de espacios, ¿no? Nos gusta pensar que los grupos con los que estamos
We like
trabajando
to
no son
think
grupos
that the groups we're
de
working with
familias
are
o
not
de
groups of
mayores o
families
de
or
adolescentes, sino que
elderly or
son una
teenagers,
especie de colectivos
but
con los que
rather
está
some
trabajando el museo,
groups
o
the
que están
museum
trabajando
is
dentro de ese
working
espacio.
with
Y les
or
propuse a los
working
sub-21 que
inside
hicieran un
our
reporte qué pensaban
space. So I
de esto que estaba
told the
sucediendo,
under
¿no?
21, what do you think about what
Y entonces
this is
empezaron a salir cosas
happening,
interesantes, ¿no?
these
Entonces empezaron a
signposted
hablar
norms?
de esa idea del cuerpo que no se puede
They
mover, del cuerpo
started
que
to
es
think
inadecuado,
about the
de todo lo que he
inappropriate
hablado antes.
body that cannot
Y
move
prácticamente
around.
llegamos a la conclusión que había que hacer una especie de,
So then we
bueno,
thought,
de
or we
intentar
reached the conclusion
meternos
that
supongo esta
we
película,
had to, I don't know if you
es una
know
escena
this
de
film,
unos adolescentes que
it is a
recorren
clip of
corriendo
some
el Louvre hasta la
teenagers
salida.
that run through the Louvre
Es aquí.
until they reach the exit.
Del cuerpo que atenta contra el museo. El museo
This
como
is
un
like the
lugar
body.
que representa todo aquello, la norma y el espacio decimonónico y el...
Here we have the museum, the place to look, not to participate, no?
Bueno, pues ellos lo que empezamos a pensar era si era posible.
We started to think whether it was possible to generate inside the institution an autonomous area or space for some teenagers,
No funcionara o se desactivaran esas normas que la propia institución estaba planteando, o esas fricciones que
where those
que
norms
suceden
were not
en que
implemented
los museos,
or
porque un adolescente
activated.
ocupa un lugar y en vez de estar mirando un cuadro está viendo el móvil. En un momento determinado una persona se acerca y dice,
At some point,
oye,
one of them
aquí
comes
estás
to me and
para
says, well, I'm
esto,
sorry,
como
but you're not
podemos
here for
hacer
this or you're not here for that. I remember some years ago we made an inventory. You know that at the museums there is staff in the room and they have some paper there and they write down, note down the things that have happened. And we did some tracking. We identified the events that included the term teenager, youngster, student, something like that. What we found were things such as some youngsters come in and they sit down and play cards. Or some youngsters come into the room, they spend half an hour watching the video, they leave and the smell is horrible. Some youngsters go up the roof and they spend a lot of time then, and then they never visit the exhibitions. They are interested in notes, no? When you read at the events then and the events now, no? Because there were events of 9 years. There is like a continuum of resistance by the youngsters and also resistance to change the institution model. We want to do some kind of a political exercise to rethink the institution for the citizen and not the citizen for the institution. Educate the audience so that they understand, or maybe the museum has to activate itself on the basis of the proposals by the citizen. With under 21, they have thought about drafting a project on the basis of a beautiful idea, artistic utopic communities. Those communities that are born in the mid of the 20th century, and they thought about living in community, then co-creation, then the idea of rethinking or establishing new ways of relating to the other members of the community, working on gender issues, the construction of identity, groupal identity, if it is possible, and to establish collective methodologies promoting other ways of doing. So what I wanted to tell you is that next Tuesday we start to design the project called Igloo. It will be built at the roof of the building to have our own program and agenda. Self-construction is the main topic, how to invite some artists to address different creative strategies with the idea of building something jointly. And now that the summer is coming, I was thinking about the idea of going out, okay? This is on the rooftop. It is the only area that touches the sky, that is not inside the white cube. This is the only area left that may become an element of resistance inside the institution. It is a kind of a colonization, a colonies. Huh? Let's see what happens with it. I don't know. Construction starts next Saturday, and we will spend here 1 week. We will sleep here. We will put up our tents. Little by little, and after many projects, I realized that the under-21 team, quite autonomous, they are between 16 and 20 years of age. There is an idea of collectivity, getting together in a single area to share ideas and interests, and with an intensity, a specific intensity, they may not have somewhere else. Something interesting this year is that the first session takes place after summer holiday, and the first proposal was that the first session would take place when the museum closes. It closes at 9 o'clock in the evening, so what the idea was to meet at 1 minute before 9, and the whole session would last the whole night. And at that night we started to think about their wishes for the next year to be translated in that area. One banal idea, that is the need of food, well, dinner time came along, then we left the museum and went to pick up some food. We improvised a kind of a kitchen in this space. After that, we meet now to eat. We have discovered that, well, they mark the agenda, the timetables, every week, every 2 weeks, depending on exams. We've discovered that for them it is very valuable to meet at those silly-billy times. Now you meet at 12 in the morning, 11:30, you cook until 2. They take turns to suggest the recipes, and then they share lunch. We thought it was beautiful, thinking about artistic projects, working on the idea of a table as a place to share. This is a map of references they have accumulated, images by artists that have to do something to do with the museum. And one of the references was this work, piece of work by Tiravanilla. In the 60s, he starts to do these performances in the 60s, cooking and feeding the audience, no? The visitors. Well, for the under-21 team, the cooking is a collective action or deed.
The first thing that occurred to us is we needed a kitchen. So what we did the second day was a workshop to build a kitchen, a nomad kitchen that could be taken to different places in the museum, taken on the roof, in the classroom, and a vitro or a gas cooker, different types of hobs. And now it's like 2 cabinets. Another idea is that we are working with what exists. We use the obsolete furniture in the museum, we dismantle it and we convert them into new furniture, for example this cooker. And the cooker changes and it grows. That is one of the practices that I wanted to share with you. Another practice that I wanted to share with you has to do with this picture here. This picture has to do, it's a way of, how could I express this? This is hacking the museum, for example. No, I've been told that I haven't any more time. My time's up, so I'll leave it there. Well, very briefly, first, during the meetings with the team, we met with artists who worked with the fake, the art of what is fake, and the idea was to create material in the institution that claiming different ways of being in the space. And generated this picture. Is like a secret society. The eye in the middle of the triangle, calling different people, different times of the day, other young people to come to the museum and have a different experience. When they arrived at the museum, they're all friends, they received a message in their mobile phone like this, like an invitation to participate in something that they call trials, like belonging to something. It's on the limit of belonging to a sect. And when they arrived, they found different instructions. There were flyers on a counter. That proposed a different type of visit. A visit that took you to react to the artworks in a different way. And in turn, they also received a link to an audio guide that proposed a different type of guide that took them to places in the museum. The places like the toilets or the roof, the classroom, workrooms, etc. I have no more time, my time's up. Okay, so I'll leave it there. This would be one project, this would be another project. This is the hand of the young people's project. It's a way of creating a different image of the museum. And I'm going because they are looking at me. I've gone over my time. Okay, when you wish, Mechthild.
Really add something both in terms of content and in terms of audience capacity. Are you still alive? Okay. I'm sorry. I prepared a real a presentation again. And I want to talk about U2 at Dortmunder U, which is a cultural center which has a lot of different institutions under one roof. And I just start with it and tell something. This PowerPoint thing, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. And you have a video too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
All right. And I want to talk about, mostly I want to talk about space. Thank you.
I hope it doesn't go in the zone.
We hope it, okay, anyway. Mostly I want to talk about space, but before I have to let you know something about the institution. And it's, yeah.
You can use this to go up, no? No.
Anyway, I'll let you know something about the institution on audio. It's a former brewery. The U is just the letter U, and it stands for Union Brewery. And it closed in 1994. And it was empty, and it was, long story. And it opened up in 2010 as a cultural center again. And it's still Dortmunder U, but U is not Union Brewery anymore, but union of very diverse partners like educational partners, a museum, and science, and a cinema. So you can imagine a big building in the city center of the city of Dortmund, which is great. You can pass by train and go ahead for 5 minutes, and then you're immediately at this old brewery, and now it's a city of from beer to culture, a cultural center. So imagine a building. Every level is different, and if you step to a different level, you have a completely different atmosphere. Ground floor, there is a cinema, and you see big escalators. Children love escalators. The moment we give them photo cameras, and say, just bring back some images, some pictures of the building, escalators, not art, escalators. They love escalators. Okay, there's a big building. First floor, the University and University of Applied Science is there. Second floor, this is the floor I'm head of. And there's a museum and also a bar, of course, and party place. It's gone. Great. This is the building. Yeah, it looks enormous. It is enormous. And this big U was the old brewery sign, and now it's another. I already said that. That's today's union. The red underlined institutions are run by the municipality, and all the other institutions are run by association or the university. So it's a nice combination, a very interesting space to be there. And yeah, that was I already told you. And on the rooftop we have a media facade, flying pictures, and it's something that people of the city of Dortmund and all passengers coming to the main station love very much. Everybody knows it, everybody loves it. Even if people never went inside and always say it's all too expensive or something like that, you all know these sentences, they love these flying pictures above. All right, now I come back. I'm the head of the second level, which is the level dedicated for children and young people. And if I say the real long name is U2, Cultural Education in Digital Time, we skipped all the rest and said we are U2. Because children and young people don't like to be educated. They need space, and this is why we started to change it from this long term to just U2. And what I wanted to stress is we also make courses and workshops like a lot of people do, but what is very important is that we have an exhibition space. And this is just not to deliver mediation courses for the museum or for other art of adults, but it's a free and empty space. And this, I think it's very, very, I appreciate that very much. So we can create together with the children and we can present it at the same time. And I really liked your presentation because you said already a lot of things I really feel very familiar with. So we can make ideas visible, ideas of children and young people. And that's a point. And we can make it accessible for a wide range of public, so also adults. And they can feel like it's an exhibition. Okay, We don't say it's from kindergarten kids or it's from youngsters. It's an exhibition. Just go, and it's a professional surrounding, and that's, I think, very, very, very important. This is just only one slide to show you the workshop part. It's a studio. I had some more pictures, but I will skip that. We have a computer space, and we have this exhibition space. So our approach is to say the young people are not the audience of tomorrow, but co-creators of today. Why not showing their ideas in a professional surrounding and area, like we do for artists as well? I'm not saying we are all artists and we are doing art, but we have ideas, and that's what we're talking about, like, I guess, in Madrid. It's like that, a little bit. And the point is, there's no wrong or right, and I think, I hope people, kids, and even adults or youngsters can have a kind of experience of autonomy and freedom. It's my idea. I can make a film out of it, or an animation clip, or a photo series, or a game, or something like that. But it's my idea, and I can do it here. I can make it happen. So, because I said the exhibition space is something that could be an interface between the ideas of the youngsters and the public visitors, audience, normal people visiting us, I will focus on this exhibition space and would like to make 3 examples very quickly. I try to speak as quick as you do in Spanish, but I never. It's so hard. All right. First, about senses. This was a workshop and exhibition with visual handicapped youngsters. Very interesting. We asked ourselves, can we make an exhibition with blind or sight-impaired youngsters? Can we skip away the basic element, our eyes, and making an exhibition with them? And we, this is example number 1. We went to a school for sight-impaired and asked them, what would you like to have an exhibition like? And they said, okay, we don't need showcases. It must be like a merry-go-round, and I have to feel it in my stomach. We said, okay, a merry-go-round in a museum. How can we make it? How can we make that happen? And we made a lot of workshops with a whole school, and the result was a gorgeous exhibition with touching things, with a treasure hunting trip, with photographs, with films, and a swing. And unfortunately, I cannot show the single pictures, but believe me, it was gorgeous. This was something, of course, we took some photographs and took some macro pictures, and then they said it's of a lemon, for example, and what is the smell of the lemon? So we said to the audience, try a sweet and have a look at the picture that we took, like, be more sensual, not only your eyes. All right, second example already. That's the current exhibition, or let's say installation we have. First was done by youngsters themselves. Now a second example is, how can we make a playful space out of it? And we're working together with Etopia and Azcuna in Bilbao, and very happy to discuss these things and thoughts. We all are somehow working in the field of gaming, but very differently. As you can see, Etopia and Azcuna work with professional game developers. We work with youngsters who like to program their own game. We did that, and who like to play. So it's completely different. And so our interpretation in the city of Dortmund was to say, how far can we go by saying is it still an exhibition, or can we skip the art pieces and say it's just a place to be, and it's like the igloo thing, I guess. And I hope now I find the clip. Maybe I need some help now. Maybe not. Yeah. It was a small clip from the opening evening, so. exactly. That was just somehow a place to be, and we were asking. I lost everything, I guess. Yeah, could you help me? Anyway, okay, this camping site. Thank you.
We'll go on again.
Thank you.
It's ready. No
It's
worries.
finished. The signs are the same.
Yeah, maybe you have to go
Sorry.
to
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Okay. The camping site idea was, how can we collect the memories that nearly everybody has about a camping holiday or a camping or disaster or a camping with a teenage, and it works. 10 minutes left. Easy. You will be. Thank you. And people come in and ask, okay, what is it? Adults. What is that? Can I buy a tent here, or is it an outlet for tents or something like that? I said, no. Have you ever been camping? Yes, of course. Yes, of course. A lot of times, and immediately they start to tell a story. Adults, children put on their shoes and use it like a play space with hollows. They hide and they tell their parents and grandparents how to use a space, a cultural space. Yeah, and there's the fireside, and it worked. People sit there, look at the flames, and discuss things. And it's also Wi-Fi and a charging station for your smartphone. Okay, so youngsters are also coming, and youngsters like to meet in the tents. And some, yeah. So it is both. It's a meeting point. You can stay there. People really spend hours there and kind of relax. And I think it's a non-commercial space to stay and to communicate. And if you like to, you go 4 floors up and see the museum, and then you can come back and relax a little. I know I have to check the whole building, and I think that's fantastic. Of course, I think it's fantastic. Okay, sorry. These are the slides I wanted to show you about the area, but we are already at the camping site thing. This is, back to example number 1, the exhibition with the site we made with the sight impaired. And this is the kind of merry-go-round that we realized. And there was an audio installation, and we asked the pupils, what is a nice atmosphere you like to be in? And they said, yeah, it's in the nature and at school. So we made, they made themselves audio files, and then they go to the Swang and they listen to their own audio files. Where do I feel happy? All right. Still, these sight-impaired people, they made selfies, but from this, they sued themselves. And it was really fantastic to see this boy in the corner was nearly blind, but he looked exactly like his puppet. It's extremely fantastic. Yeah. And as you can see, these tools, these digital cameras are fantastic to use them for sight-impaired people, because you can zoom in and out. Yeah, all right. Now it makes sense with the suites. That was the clip. Example number 3. And this is not real yet. And a lot of skateboarders use the surrounding around cultural centers. For example, in Barcelona, MACBA, they told me, yes, there, the special ground, a special stone is perfect for pilgrims to MACBA in Barcelona. It is like that at the Dortmunder U. Skateboarders meet there for longer than the Dortmunder U exists. It was a kind of meeting point. And they were outside and we were inside. We watched each other. What's a very peaceful coexistence. And then we started this smARTplaces project, community building. How can we get in contact to a community? Who do we want to address? And then we said, yes, there are the skaters, and we are in, and I think there could be something in. And then we had a meeting with some skaters, and surprise, and it's with Azcuna Centro in Bilbao, and surprisingly, okay, that's the situation. Surprisingly, they are professional filmmakers, they are graphic designers, scenographers, and enthusiastic about the idea to tell the story about skating and the conflicts of skating and to conflicts that naturally come up when you see the city as a car driver or see the city as a skateboarder. How do you use the stone, the floor, the ground, any obstacles? And that's interesting, and they are enthusiastic about to tell their story. And now we make an exhibition with the skater community. We have a core group of 7 people, and they are great. It's a great work to work together with them because we both learn from each other. And they will build a shop from the 90s as a meeting point for skaters. And then they will tell a lot of stories about how it is to be a skater and to be a member of a community and make a 360-degree film that every visitor can wear a camera and feel like being on a skateboard and these things. And it was all in there, so they could do it. If you have any time to come, please come on the 9th of May to Dortmunder. It would be very nice. Okay, to conclude some things. Can we change the perspective? Absolutely not. Let somebody participate in what we do, but change it in a completely different. So for us at U2, at Dortmunder U, can we let adults participate in the thoughts of youngsters? And so on and so on. Must there be an educational or knowledge hierarchy? Or can we just exchange stories? So this is about the empty space and not about a filled space and the complete stories. So if you leave some empty spaces, maybe ask for the stories about camping or about how do you use the city or something like that. And it's very, very interesting. And not only to tell the curator story, what is more easy, I must admit, but to collect diverse stories. Okay, thank you.
Bueno, no sé si tenemos un momentito para entablar un pequeño diálogo, ¿sí? Vale, yo he oído el...
small dialogue. Both presentations mentioned autonomy, participation many times, and one of the main challenges we have faced in Etopia when starting up our youth program or program for youth was to try to take those youngsters out of the traditional spaces and bring them to other areas with less guide and trying to find for formulae, doing away with the traditional idea and promoting creation and co-creation. In our case, we are immersed in a transition process. We are trying to teach them to unlearn dynamics and learn producing an autonomous way. So I'd like to know whether you have faced this experience, or whether it is commonplace with youngsters now.
I should start. All right. Yeah, of course, it's very hard. The older you grow, the more you are squeezed to a special, I don't know, reception size or something like that. And I think we have experience with that, of course. Nobody is creative the moment you step in something that should be like that. But our experience is two topics or two things, I guess. What to tell them or to let them feel or to let us know what is the use for you to join in this course or project. For example, photography. We say, yes, you learn the techniques of photography, the installation. No, Instagram. The use is Instagram to get likes, like a currency. And by the way, we talk about what is it to do something with a light or with a filter, but they love the quality of the technique we have, the quality of the free artist, the photographer that is like a kind of agent at their side. So what is the use for them? And the second question I would say is what could be a common use, like the exhibition example. Can we do something together that we both feel, yes, we could do something together with them. And then we started to see at one course, okay, they are growing older and older and older, they will leave. Can we ask them to give a course themselves? And now we have a union art club, and they say, yes, really, yes, yeah, okay, now I'm a kind of teacher, yes, and it's fantastic. But we try every day.
Estaba pensando que
No, I was thinking that maybe that is a challenge that never disappears. I was thinking about one of the last experiences. I thought it was very important. Last year we was at a school closest to the museum, 300 meters away from the entrance of the museum. And we did a collaborative project with the school. And when we left one of the classes, a group of students who 2 years before had participated in the same program said, hey, could you please help us? Because we are doing a piece of play and we need some staging. And we haven't got a clue how to do any staging, no? How to put it up on a stage. And then we go there and I thought, wow. It is the first time they come to us and they ask us for help, because usually you propose a project. But at what point do they come to you and propose your project? So at breaks, we started to go to their patios to do some rehearsing, and we did the theater play. And they invented the no-name company, theater company, nameless company theater. And I like to listen, know how to listen to framework, scenario, youngsters. A small project we start with, and so that it becomes huge. So the nameless play company or theater company, now they meet every Friday at the museum. They haven't got a clue about theater. I don't have a clue either, but they meet every Friday. So we have designed a calendar as a company. They meet artists and performers, and they are thinking about the production of a play, to put up on a stage a play. And it is given us the possibility of generating something. For me as an educator, I had to do away with the idea of building a project and go for a project that made sense for them. Girls 14, 15 years of age who still do not know what a theater company is about, but now they are called a theater company, and someone makes them an interview, or they are treated as artists. No? I don't know. I don't know whether I have answered you. I just wanted to share this idea with you. Final question, if you allow me, and with this we will close because it's a bit late. I envy the previous panel because they claimed their role as mediators and their professionalism. And somehow I wanted also to talk about the educational programs of cultural centers. I think that cultural centers take a lot of care of the educational programs because they attract a lot of audience, external funding. But I also see that they are like a complementary element to a greater agenda. They are the small sibling of the cultural center. And when the educational project grows, some fears come about regarding educational role of art. What will happen to an art center if you turn it into a leisure area for youngsters? So, what do you think our challenges ahead of us are? I'm not interested in art right now, and that is the only thing I'm interested in, both things together. The positive format is facing a crisis, continuous crisis. I think that projects that stay for years and years have to do with a deeper issue or question, and they have to do with education. I think that I understand your point of view, your comment, because at least in Spain, we are facing always that danger of vanishing, no, disappearance. For many years, education departments at art centers have been dismantled since the 90s, and then during the crisis as well, and outsourcing the services as well. So for me, that is a fundamental topic. Thinking or taking the educational department as an autonomous department is a key topic, to have their own research lines. A main part of our program had to do with our main ideas or pillars. I think that right now they only have one workshop a year. Probably we will invite artists to lead a workshop, but we need research projects focused on gender, body. I think we also have to regard ourselves as female researchers. An anecdote, if you allow me, although we are a bit bad of time. The museum has been closed for a week because they're going to do some works on that low level, and they have to officially open for elections, but we are at school times. Who closes a museum right now? Political interests. Museum is closed right now, and because of that fear, how can they say all of a sudden we're going to close down the museum? What happens with the exhibitions and the programs, the school programs, educational programs, families, youngsters, group of adults? What happens to them? So we have to reinvent ourselves. We have invented a project that is called Intemperie. You know what it happens? Well, out there. Imagine, beautiful, marvelous, 60 adults who have to go to a bar just to have their own classroom, and then they end up down the street or at a park. I don't know, I think it is amazing. It is cold still out there, right? I haven't answered you either, but I told you many things anyway.
It would be easy to say I agree, just to... Yeah, of course, I think the panel before I had already said, David said already, yes, we have to be in charge from the beginning of the plannings of whatever, an exhibition, cultural event or whatever. And I have the luxurious situation at Dortmunder that, yes, it is still one level up. It is it's a commitment, yes, it is important, and you get your own level. And not just a workshop space somewhere in the cellar where you can go with the kids in after visiting the blah. So I appreciate that very, very much. And I would say, yes, of course, and it's about money. Our exhibitions cost, I don't know, 10% of the others. So it's about money, of course. It's about positions and to talk to sit on the table. On the table of decisions and on the table of money. And I just always, like maybe everybody, imagine an exhibition which is not called Kindergarten Presents Last Results, but it's in a professional museum space and just exhibit works. And go inside and just, you are much more open to explore what is there than if you know what exactly, from whom is it coming? Or is it media art? Oh God, no. Or is it a kindergarten? No, we don't need no. But and I would try these experiments more, and I would love cultural centers to say, yes, no, it's your job to make the top act of this year and take this €1 million like we did for the Blockbuster exhibition last year and do something. Yeah, I would love that, of course. Who else? Yeah.
Vale, pues creo que con esto
Great, so I think we'll
cerramos
leave it
la
at
mesa.
that. We call it a day. So I think that is all from us. Okay, so 6:30 we will meet outside at the meeting point and we will go to our safaris. Please be punctual. Thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow 9:30 tomorrow morning, of course. Thank you.